Hey guys, it's Carly. Today I'm going to be presenting to you how to use CoWriter. This is a great tool for your students, but it's also a great tool for anybody who has limited accessibility for any typing needs or any spelling difficulties. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to open up a Google document. Now, the way that CoWriter works, this can be used as an extension on Google Chrome, which is great because you can use it on any application at all that can be opened up through the Chrome browser. Now, here is our CoWriter bubble right up here at the top. Mine is on, but it's a simple toggle switch to turn it on and off. So CoWriter on, CoWriter off. So it's pretty easy to embed and it's pretty easy for students or teachers or anybody really to use and to turn on. Let's take a look real quick before we continue on some of the options you have with CoWriter. So when you open up the CoWriter extension, um, you can open up the settings tab. This is our settings tab right here. Now, this first box right here that you see where my cursor is, in this box, you can choose a topic and make a dictionary based on that topic. Let me show you real quick. Let's say that your students are researching the American Revolution, and I'm going to use this topic because it is something that my students in fifth grade had to research this year. So once we have the American Revolution, when you see that those words creating topic, what that means is that CoWriter is scanning the web and is looking for words that are related to the American Revolution and have now added those to the dictionary. And I'll show you what that looks like here in just a second. You'll notice I already have a football Google search that's saved on there because it can create topics based on the pages that you're on. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Now, if we take a look at the prediction language, when we're typing, we can choose the language that we're typing into. I have predict all words on. You can predict from the page that you're working on. So what CoWriter will do is it'll look at the words you've typed before and it'll automatically include those words if they've been on the page prior as part of your predictive choices. It will predict ahead. And what I love about CoWriter that I think is so different from using Google Translate or any of the other transcription tools is that it has such an intuitive predictive text. And I'm going to show you that in just 1 second. We also see flexible spelling. There are a lot of words out there like friends, elephant that are consistently misspelled by our students that they may not even know how to begin. I find that CoWriter, if you can get the first 2 letters correct, will give you at least one guess that's pretty close to the word that you're looking for. Now, you can translate your writing into English. So what's cool about this too is it can translate what you're writing into another language. This gives further accessibility for our students, but also for teachers. If you were working with somebody in another language, you could communicate back and forth with this tool. Now, as needed, this one's a little bit tricky. I have as needed on for all of my students. When you click on this, as needed off means that there's a little icon that pops up when you're doing speech to text that will not be available if it is turned off. As needed here, we'll turn on everything except for speech to text. And that looks like a little microphone icon, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. Now, going up here to the top, we can choose the number of guesses in our box. What I love about this too is you get to choose what your predictive text box looks like. So you can see the yellow box that's just popped up on the screen. You can have that be any color you want. You can choose a font that you want. You can choose, which I'm always going to choose Times New Roman. You can choose a font size, which I think is important for me. The older I get, I need a bigger font size. You can also choose the text color and the background. This is great for students who have dyslexia or need an extra accommodation with a colored overlay to help them concentrate on their screen. Another thing I really like about this is you can choose the prediction voice. I have whatever the standard voice is, but you can have okay. I I always prefer I use a female voice. As you can see, I changed the volume as she was speaking. I'm going to keep her kind of low because I'm going to be playing around with that. Now, one thing I find very important is when you're using CoWriter for a readback for the students, I feel like the speed really matters. If we take the speed down a little bit, students who might be struggling with their verbal comprehension, they might be struggling with a speech delay, they might be struggling with speech recognition delays. Slowing down the speed makes a huge difference. Now, pitch for me makes no difference, but it's just a preference. You can also choose when you're highlighting what color your highlighted text is going to be and your highlighted text color. These are all options that you can see underneath settings alone. So there's a lot of customization that's available to students. What I find though is that I like to customize when they're starting out because there's a lot of choices and they can spend a lot of time playing with this. I want to bring your attention to one more thing before I go back and I show you how CoWriter works. You can turn on speak letters. If students are emerging writers, this might be important for their spelling patterns, such as CBC, their two vowel patterns. But for me, using these with my third, fourth, and fifth graders, I feel like speaking the words and speaking the sentence is very important. This one right here, where it says speak after speech to text, that allows the students to hear what has been recorded from their speech to text, which I'm going to show you right now. So if we take a look, this is my CoWriter practice page. Up in the corner, you can tell I already have some predictions just based on football as my Google search and the American Revolution. Now, as I'm typing, let's say that I wanted to type a sentence about the American Revolution. Oh, there's American, and I'm just putting an R. REV is what I typed. And you see how it offers me the answer choices correctly capitalized, which I think is a great boon for our students, especially in this era of writing on standardized tests that may not be timed, but there really is an understood time limit to be as long as it takes in one school day. Okay, so I can choose these as I go. And what you'll notice is it's reading everything back to me. American Revolution. And what I'm trying to write is dates. Okay. And what this is doing right now is it's helping me to create, this could be a subtitle, this could be anything else that I'm working on. Students, when using the predictive text mode, need to be able to type. So it can be a problem. And I do actually have a couple of students who really need help as far as being able to use their fingers on a touch screen or their fingers on a keyboard. So instead of using the typing option, we can use the speech to text. So let me show you how to do that real quick. You see this little microphone right here? When I go back and do as needed, which I'm about to do, you're going to see that microphone floating in whatever text that you're trying to write. That means it is already ready to go and students don't have to use this text box. I found this really helpful for my students who might need fewer distractions because of ADHD or just anxiety, honestly. There's a lot of things going on in the page that you're looking at right now. So let's take a look at text to speech real quick. You can see that when I click on text to speech, the box becomes simplified. Now, here's what's great. To start typing, all you have to do is click on the blue microphone. Now, watch what happens when I talk into this with clear and slow speech. The American Revolution changed life for everyone that lived in the colonies. Period. The American Revolution. Now, You'll notice, just like when we do speech to text on our cell phones, I had to say the word period to end the sentence. But even with my clear speech, my diction wasn't quite clear enough to get all of the words correct. I said changed life. As you can see, it says change here. Of course, if students know how to use the grammar correct, or they know what our little red squiggle means, it's easy for them to make that make sense. Now you can always have it read back to you. So what I've done right now is I have clicked on the read button. Anything that is on this screen can be read to you with CoWriter. So let's take a look. I have my cursor up here at the top. I can select all of these. Okay, so that'll read everything back to the students as they're working. Now, toggling between these is pretty easy. As you can see, if I'm looking for the read option, all I have to do is click on the little icon, which is pretty standard on all standardized tests. If I want text to speech, all I have to do is click on my little microphone option. Now, this option right here brings me right back to that topic bank. So if I'm writing something about the American Revolution and I want to go right back to this. Patrick. Oh, there's his name. Let's say I wanted to write Patrick Henry. You can see because I have that toggle on for the topic of the American Revolution, that they're already looking for words that could go with Patrick, and they automatically chose Henry and they capitalized it. Okay. Now let's go back to our settings real quick. And remember, I am still on just a regular old Google Doc. There is nothing fancy about this right now. If I go to my options and I'm just not feeling having to click back and forth to find my text to speech. This is what I do for the majority of my students because they do have some mobility and fine and gross motor skill issues. You can change on as needed text to speech. And when I go back to my page, you can see that my little blue microphone is already there. Contribution to the American Revolution was significant, period. Now, I want to have that read back. So what I can do is toggle up here. Got to go back to my options, turn off my as needed, and that will give me back my regular CoWriter box so I can get that reread. And see, I can hear a mistake. I can already hear a mistake, so I'm going to go ahead and change that. All right. So you can see how this would be very, very helpful for any students that are writing a paper. You can open up Google Documents and you can type in here. Now, what I also found really interesting, I actually did this on our last class. These are all of the notes that I let CoWriter take as we were having our discussion about words that were important in technology innovation in the classroom. Um, Somebody who needs to take notes but maybe can't type very fast can turn on CoWriter. What I did do is whenever there was a lull in the conversation, I would turn it off and turn it back on. There are a lot of typos, and as you can see, there aren't any periods in this writing. But as it's taking those notes, as long as you're toggling on and off, it'll start a new paragraph for you as you go through. This is everything, and I'm not going to read it to you because you guys are there for the discussion, but these are the notes and what everybody in the classroom, no matter how far away they were, this picked up their words pretty clearly. I will say that anybody speaking on Zoom, they did not have clear words. Now, let's take a look at some other ways that you can use CoWriter. This is a Google form. Not only can you use it on Google Docs, you can use it on absolutely anything that you can open as a web page. Let's take a look at this exit ticket. Let's say that your students have a hard time typing, but they definitely want to answer, and this is going to be a grade. So what's one important thing that you learned in class today? You could answer that using our text to speech. And you can see as soon as I pop up anything that asks for any kind of text, it already comes up. And again, it'll give me the read back. It'll allow me to make a topic, and it'll allow me to do speech to text. You can also use CoWriter on Google Slides. So every single thing that is available to be opened is accessible. So let's do one here. CoWriter demonstration. You can see I'm still going to have to go back in and put in some of these words, especially proper nouns. You'll find that a lot of these they're hard to put into the topic dictionary. I put in educational philosophy thinking that it would pick up CoWriter as I used it, but it did. Now let's talk about some of the things that I find a little bit difficult with CoWriter. As far as ease of use, it is easy once you show students how to use and to toggle back and forth between each one of these. Like I said, for most of my students, I leave the as needed on because I feel like when we're typing, it is too much of a burden for them to have to go back and forth between typing and not typing. They do also have to be able to use their fingers to either click on where they want the cursor to be, okay, or to double click to make a change in spelling. So let's see if we can practice one right now. Elephants are fun. Are fun. So as you can tell, even with clear speech that I'm using right now, sometimes there is a problem with the transcription. What I've noticed with a lot of my students receive speech services, so their reading is not always crystal clear. What I've noticed is a good workaround for this is turning up the volume, blasting wise, and having them really slow down their speech. Still takes a lot of patience, and it still can be difficult to get used to using CoWriter. As far as the functionality, I have found that it works on just about any web page that you're using. What I just absolutely loved the notes that we took in class and how you can add information um, to the notes using your as needed text to speech. I'm going to put this in bold and it'll type up for me. Subheading for this section of notes. Now, another thing I've noticed that can be a little bit difficult, you can see that when it is recording, it's red, and then you have to click on it again to stop it. That can be kind of difficult if any students or anybody using this has a palsy or any problem clicking and stopping. Okay, there are a lot of motor skills needed for this, but I think once you get used to using it and you're willing to take the time to go nice and slow to get everything that you need out of it, the functionality is it's pretty spot on. Of course, it's an accessibility app, so it has excellent accessibility. Let's see, mobile design. The app is not great. The app is honestly not very good at all. They are working on a better one, but right now, the app that goes onto Chrome, the app that goes in any operating system for Windows, the app that you use on a cell phone, has not been updated since December of 2022, and they really don't have any connectivity to it right now. So you can download it, but it'll freeze over and over again. Customization, as you saw earlier, there's many options for customization that really helps students take this as their own, especially when they're having to use a tool that's maybe a little bit difficult to get used to using. Can this be embedded? As you can see, if you look at my top corner, CoWriter's already embedded onto my taskbar. Once they do have the app up and running again, that you will be able to pin it on the bottom, okay, so that you could pull it up. It has, CoWriter itself is supposed to have its own word processing program, but right now they do not have one. They only have accessibility into other programs that create opportunities for word processing. It is adaptive. You guys know that we can create our topics, which is very helpful, especially as students get deeper and deeper into using a certain topic. Or, for example, the American Revolution topic that I use has got a lot of proper nouns. And I think it's important to lower that frustration level for those students on some of those words they may not know how to spell at all. Um, there's not really any enhanced formats right now. CoWriter's been around for a really long time. The fact that it is so compatible with so many different uses on the internet it's really remarkable. I'm just going to do an off the cuff right now search with CoWriter. Make sure it's on for me. I'm going to turn off my as needed. Go back to my tab. American American Revolution, Patrick Henry. American Revolution, Patrick Henry. Mm. Well, I think I've turned it off before it could find our examples. But Google already has an embedded function for this. Um, as far as ongoing learning is concerned, I have not yet used CoWriter in every possible situation. I was very intrigued by the fact that I could write all of the slides, or I wrote my entire actually CoWriter presentation using the CoWriter function. It took a lot of editing and it took a lot of patience to get used to getting the kinks out. But I think once students know that this is available for them, I have a student that uses a combination of the predictive text and the text to speech. Text to speech is huge right now, especially with the Star World rolling out what it has with its extended writing and its short constructed response. So I feel like this is going to change and they're going to change accessibility as it goes on. Another thing I'd like to add is when you are using the app, and again, I was not able to use the app in any important capacity because every time I try to do any of these advanced functions, it is no longer supported by CoWriter and Don Johnston. So it would freeze up and I had to take it off, remove it off my computer. But I feel like in the future, we're going to be able to use this and it's going to be a lot easier for it to just be pinned instead of moving back and forth as we move from one application to another. That's CoWriter so far for me. Um, one of my favorite things about it, and it's something that I was telling my group about when I got to present, is that it has allowed a student of mine who normally can write maybe 3 words to complete an entire poetry project with different types of figurative language. He was so happy. He ran home and he showed his mom the paper that we had printed out. And when I got to meet with her and I showed her that he had actually done this writing himself, we both cried. So, CoWriter is an accessibility tool. I don't feel like there's an age limit on it for sure. I know that if you are more savvy with the internet or maybe a little bit older and you have better motor skills, that CoWriter is the tool for you. Thank you guys so much for your time. Have a wonderful afternoon.